He walks through life wearing an identity that looks simple on the surface, calm, collected, unbothered, but the truth is far deeper. A Sigma male never reveals more than 10% of who he is, because the other 90% is reserved for the rare spaces where he feels truly safe. People think they know him because they see his silence, his logic, his independence. But they don't realize those are just the visible layers, the controlled layers. Beneath them is a private world of depth, strategy, insight, scars, intuition, and emotional intensity that he guards with precision. Not out of fear, but out of mastery. Because he learned early that being fully seen is dangerous. That people project, judge, misunderstand, or try to take advantage of what they don't comprehend. So he built a mask, not fake, but selective. A mask that shields his vulnerability, protects his peace, and keeps his power intact. And the most fascinating part? The less he reveals, the more others want to understand him. Before you dive into the full breakdown, ask yourself, how much of you do people actually see? And how much do you keep hidden because you know they wouldn't understand it? Share your thoughts in the comments and subscribe to UltraWise if you want more deep psychology the world never teaches you. He reveals only what is necessary, never what is vulnerable. A Sigma male learns early that the world listens differently depending on what you reveal, so he shapes his presence with precision. He shows just enough to function, to move, to blend, but never enough for anyone to trace the blueprint of his inner world. That control becomes his armor. When he speaks, it is deliberate, clean, measured, strategic. He offers facts instead of feelings, observations instead of confessions, clarity instead of exposure. People think he is simple to read because he is calm, contained, and unbothered. But the truth is that they only meet the version of him designed for public interaction. The real version stays hidden behind a polished exterior, protected from judgment, manipulation, or misunderstanding. And this isn't fear, it's discipline. He understands that vulnerability given to the wrong people becomes leverage. So he shares only the surface-level pieces, the 10% he decides the world is allowed to see. His silence becomes the gate. His stillness becomes a filter. Those who approach him are left guessing, interpreting, creating stories to fill in the blanks he leaves intentionally open. Meanwhile, he watches. He reads the room. He evaluates who listens to respond and who listens to understand. Vulnerability for him is sacred. It is something he gives slowly, cautiously, and to almost no one. Most people never reach the deeper layers, not because he is cold, but because he knows the cost of letting the wrong person inside his emotional structure. He has learned that privacy is power, that mystery protects him, and that only by revealing the minimum can he maintain full control over his life. To the outside world, he looks like a quiet man of few words. But in reality, he is a fortress of thoughts, memories, instincts, and depth, a mind with countless hidden rooms no one will ever enter unless he opens the door. He controls his emotional expression to prevent people from reading his inner world. A Sigma male moves through life with a level of emotional discipline that most people mistake for detachment. But it is not detachment, it is protection. He learned long ago that the moment people can read you, they can influence you. They can push your buttons, shape your reactions, and manipulate your emotional temperature. So he mastered the art of neutrality. Not coldness, not apathy, neutrality. His face gives nothing away. His tone remains steady. His body language is calm, unshaken, unreadable. Even when anger flickers beneath the surface or disappointment twists inside him, he lets none of it rise to his expression. He keeps the door between his emotions and the outside world firmly closed. This self-control becomes his shield in every environment. While others reveal their frustration, excitement, insecurity, or desire without realizing it, he keeps every internal shift hidden behind an unbroken surface. People try to provoke him, but he doesn't bite. They try to impress him, but he doesn't react. They try to guess his thoughts, but he reveals nothing. And the more he stays unreadable, the more others expose themselves, revealing their intentions, weaknesses, and motives, while he says almost nothing at all. His calm expression becomes a mirror that forces people to confront their own emotions. They project, they assume, they wonder, but they never truly know. And that uncertainty gives him a level of control that louder personalities can never achieve. He decides when to show emotion, how much to show, and to whom. Nothing is accidental. Every expression is chosen, not leaked. To the world, he appears mysterious, the man whose feelings never betray him. But internally, he feels everything deeply. He has simply learned that not every person earns the right to witness his emotional landscape. His restraint is not emptiness. It is mastery. It is survival. It is freedom. He builds a calm external persona that hides a far more intense internal reality. To most people, a Sigma male appears composed, steady, almost unaffected by the chaos around him. His face stays relaxed, his breathing slow, his movements deliberate. He walks like someone who has nothing to fear and nothing to prove. That calm exterior becomes the mask the world learns to recognize, the version of him people think they understand. But beneath that controlled surface lives a mind far more intense than anyone imagines. While others see quiet, he is running calculations. While they see stillness, he is analyzing dynamics, reading intentions, preparing exits, or dissecting motives. His inner world never stops moving, never stops questioning, never stops evaluating. It is a private storm wrapped in an unmoving sea. He learned early that exposing that intensity only invites misunderstanding. Most people cannot handle the depth of his thoughts, the sharpness of his instincts, or the speed of his internal processing. So he created a persona that disarms others. Calm, steady, approachable, neutral. A controlled surface protects him from being treated as a threat, from being misread, from being drawn into emotional noise he never asked for. People see a man who is difficult to provoke, but they don't see how much he feels. They see a man who rarely reacts, but they don't see the weight of everything he notices. His calmness is not emptiness, it is containment. This duality gives him a powerful advantage. While everyone else reveals their tension, their insecurity, their eagerness, he remains unreadable. His internal intensity becomes a hidden weapon, sharpening his intuition and strengthening his decisions without ever betraying his strategy. People underestimate him because they think quiet means simple. In reality, quiet is the cover he uses to move through the world with precision. The more others assume he's calm because he's unbothered, the safer his true depth remains, untouched, unexposed, and entirely his own. He shares different versions of himself depending on the environment, never the full picture. A Sigma male walks through the world like a man carrying a locked briefcase. Inside is the full truth of who he is, his instincts, his past, his wounds, his ambition, his fire. But he never hands that briefcase to anyone. Instead, he opens it just enough to show the exact piece that fits the room he's in. With strangers, he offers a polite, neutral version of himself. With colleagues, he becomes analytical and composed. With acquaintances, he shows humor or insight, but never intimacy. Every environment gets a different angle of his identity, carefully chosen, precisely measured. Not because he is deceptive, but because he has learned that people rarely value the full truth. They only value the parts that serve them. This selective self-disclosure makes him impossible to pin down. One person may describe him as quiet, another as intense, another as strategic, another as deeply kind. All of them are right, but none of them truly know him. He distributes pieces of himself the same way a strategist distributes resources, only where necessary, only where earned, only where safe. Most people overshare to feel understood. He withholds to stay free. He knows the danger of giving the wrong person too much access, how quickly it turns into leverage, expectation, or manipulation. So he gives just enough to navigate the moment, never enough to let someone map his mind. Over time, this creates an aura around him. People sense depth but cannot locate it. They feel there's more beneath the surface, but they can't prove it. They know he's holding back, but they don't know what. That mystery becomes its own kind of power. While others expose everything hoping to be accepted, he reveals only fractions, preserving the integrity of the whole. And the truth is simple. The full picture of a Sigma male is something only he will ever see, because the moment he gives all of himself away, he stops being in control of his life and becomes someone else's story instead of his own. He masks his intelligence and insight to avoid becoming a target or threat. A Sigma male learns early that showing the full sharpness of his mind can create the wrong kind of attention. In a world where many compete for validation, dominance, or recognition, intelligence becomes a weapon people fear or try to control. So he hides the depth of his understanding behind calm eyes and simple responses. Not because he doubts himself, but because he knows the moment others realize how deeply he sees, they will either challenge him, envy him, or try to use him. He avoids all three by blending in, letting others underestimate him, while he quietly reads every detail they miss. This masking is not weakness, it is strategy. While people talk loudly to impress, he listens quietly and learns. While others rush to show how much they know, he says little and observes how they react. He lets them believe he is merely present in the room, when in reality he is studying dynamics, motives, and hidden agendas with a precision they cannot imagine. And because no one sees him as a threat, they reveal far more than they realize. Their insecurities, alliances, fears, and ambitions unfold in front of him like an open map. He gains leverage simply by not showing his hand. There is also protection in this restraint. A man who appears too capable attracts competition. A man who appears too perceptive threatens fragile egos. A man who appears too wise becomes the one others turn to or turn against. The Sigma avoids all of that by presenting a quiet, neutral version of himself. Not dimmed, but disguised. Not weaker, but unexposed. And this is where his advantage becomes undeniable. The world cannot fight what it cannot read. While others project their intelligence loudly, the Sigma carries his like a concealed blade. Unseen, underestimated, and devastatingly effective when the moment calls for it. He hides his pain, growth, and transformation because people wouldn't understand the depth. A Sigma male carries entire lifetimes of experience behind a face that rarely reveals more than a calm expression. He learned early that most people do not listen to understand. They listen to respond, judge, or compare. So when life breaks him open, when he rebuilds himself from the inside out, when he outgrows old identities and sheds versions of himself that once felt permanent, he keeps it hidden. Not because he fears vulnerability, but because he knows the depth of his inner world would overwhelm people who only see reality at the surface level. His pain is not loud. It doesn't explode outward. It sinks inward, where he dissects it in silence. He studies the wound the way others study distractions, analyzing what created it, what it taught him, and what it demands he let go of. When he grows, the world doesn't see the battles he fought in the dark, the nights he questioned everything, or the discipline it took to rise again. They see only the new version of him and assume it came naturally, not knowing he rebuilt himself piece by piece with his own hands. Transformation, for him, is sacred. The Sigma understands that revealing his evolution invites misunderstanding, projections, and unsolicited opinions. So he lets people believe he is the same man they knew before. He walks through the world wearing an old mask, protecting the new self forming beneath it. And while others cling to outdated versions of themselves out of fear, he evolves in private because he knows the journey is meant to be walked alone. What makes him different is this: his silence is not emptiness, it is protection, not secrecy, sovereignty. By hiding his pain and growth, he preserves the purity of his transformation, emerging only when he's ready, stronger than before, and impossible to decode by anyone who wasn't there during the storm. He protects his true identity until someone proves they can handle all of him, not just the surface. A Sigma male moves through the world like a man carrying a sealed vault inside his chest. Most people only ever see the polished exterior, the calm tone, the controlled expression, the quiet presence that never reveals more than a fraction of who he is. And that's intentional. He learned long ago that people fall in love with the idea of him, not the reality. They admire the mystery, the composure, the restraint, but they rarely have the emotional depth or stability to handle the storms, the complexity, or the intensity living beneath that surface. So he protects himself. His mind, his heart, his history, his wounds, his victories, and the parts of him that transformed in silence. He gives people only the version they've earned, not the version they expect. If someone approaches with curiosity but lacks consistency, he keeps the door closed. If they want connection but cannot offer emotional safety, he stays unreadable. And if they want access without responsibility, he disappears entirely. Because for him, vulnerability isn't a currency to spend freely, it's an investment that demands proof. What he waits for is not perfection, but capacity. The capacity to sit with silence without panicking, to listen without judgment, to understand without trying to fix, to recognize his depth without fearing it, resenting it, or exploiting it. Very few people can meet him there, and he knows that. That's why he doesn't rush, doesn't open easily, doesn't lower the guard that has protected him through every season of his life. But when someone finally proves they can handle all of him, the intensity, the quiet, the ambition, the scars, the softness he hides from the world, the vault opens. Slowly, carefully, deliberately. And what they discover is a man who was never cold, never distant, never detached. He was simply waiting for someone who could hold the weight of his truth without dropping it. When a man like this finally closes the chapter, it's never loud, never dramatic, never designed to teach anyone a lesson. It's simply the moment he realizes his peace has become more valuable than the connection itself. And once he reaches that point, there is no return, no reopening, no second invitation. His silence becomes the final boundary, his distance becomes the answer, and his absence becomes the truth people didn't want to see. Because losing access to a Sigma male isn't just losing a person, it's losing a level of depth, loyalty, and understanding that most people never experience twice. If this resonated with you, tell me in the comments. Which part hit you the hardest and why? Your words matter, your perspective matters, and your story might help someone else see their own. And if you want more content like this, make sure you subscribe to UltraWise. You don't want to miss what's coming next.